Good evening, sir.
The Drifter is this point-and-click adventure game that's coming out soon, and it looks pretty interesting because it's not your usual point-and-click game. It's basically about this guy named Mick Carter who has been drifting around for years, jumping from job to job, never really settling anywhere. The whole thing starts when he's riding a freight train back to his hometown for his mother's funeral, which he's been avoiding for 5 years. The setup is pretty wild though. Mick witnesses a murder on this train, gets chased by these heavily armed soldiers who definitely aren't regular security, and ends up getting drowned in a reservoir. He somehow comes back to life, but only seconds before his death. So now he's stuck in this loop where his consciousness gets pulled back into his body right before he dies, and he has to figure out what the hell is going on. What makes this game stand out is that, instead like those slow-paced games where you're clicking on everything trying to figure out obscure puzzles, the Drifter keeps things moving fast. The developers specifically said they cut the brake lines on the traditional adventure game pacing. Mick gets thrown from one crazy situation to another without much time to breathe, which sounds refreshing compared to games where you spend forever wandering around stuck. The puzzles are supposed to be practical and grounded. Since Mick is this Drifter type who's used to getting by with whatever he can find, the solutions often make sense. And the story is inspired from thriller or horror writers like Stephen King. You get this mix of conspiracy thriller with some dark elements. There's apparently this 1000-year obsession from some madmen involved, along with shadowy corporations that are somehow connected to what happened to Mick. The whole thing about something following him back from the other side when he comes back to life has the supernatural horror element too. Visually, the game uses pixel art, but it's the detailed, high-impact kind with smooth animations. It looks really good, the character animations are fluid, and the environments have an atmospheric quality that fits the dark tone. The art style manages to be retro without feeling dated. They also put a lot of effort into the audio side. The whole game is voice acted, which is pretty rare for indie adventure games, and there's a nice dark soundtrack that gives it a nice cinematic feel.
Sense of what's happened. I died. They killed me. But I am no longer dead.
Another thing that's different is the control options. You can play traditional point-and-click style, but they also added twin-stick controller support. It's designed to work equally well whether you're at the desk or on the sofa. The story seems to deal with Mick's past catching up to him too. He's been away from his hometown for 5 years, avoiding his family and his ex-wife Sarah. His sister Annie is trying to get him involved in planning their mother's funeral, and he clearly has some unresolved issues he's been running from. So while there's this big conspiracy plot happening, there's also a personal story. So from what I can tell, this isn't going to be one of those games where you get stuck for hours trying to figure out what the developer was thinking. The puzzles are meant to feel logical and the story keeps moving you along. They want you to feel like you're in an action movie or thriller novel instead of methodically working through a logic exercise. And this sentence concludes today's video. If your time was respected, a like or comment is very much appreciated.
Looking at the sky, trying to process what just happened.